much on behalf of Senator Shannon Grove. She's in Sacramento doing doctor shows. I'm sure she's looking into, I took notes. Everybody at the table, I was taking notes so I can pass all the message, but she is so happy that I was talking to her today. And you are giving from the heart. You are teaching everybody. I was talking to several people today before we started dinner, and everybody was telling me on how impressed and how much you inspire all the doctors in Kern County to be better doctors. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for everything you've done.
Yes, and Dr. Singh, also we want to share with you from Assembly Member Jeffy Bates' office as well. We have a certificate to present to you as well. Thank you so much on her behalf. Much to carry. Then we'll take a photo after you speak.
I'll try to be short. It's a long day. But I like what the previous speaker said. If you're not on the table, you're on the menu. So anyway, I'm very, very grateful for this honor, and especially for the consideration from my peers. And whatever I did in Kern County was a group effort, a collective effort, nothing I did alone. And I'd briefly like to talk a little bit about the highlights in cardiology in Kern County. I came here in 1978, that's almost half a century ago. And interestingly, there was one single cardiac cath lab in all of Kern County, that was at San Joaquin Hospital. And all we did there was just diagnostic angiography. They had just started, open heart surgery, bypass surgery a few years earlier. And but in 1978, something dramatic happened which changed the whole role of the cardiac catheterization lab. Richard Myler, a cardiologist who had moved from Massachusetts, actually I did a rotation in one of his labs, had moved to San Francisco, and in 1st of March 1978, he performed the first angioplasty in the United States. That was a major, major breakthrough. And remember, this procedure is now the most common procedure done all over the world. Anyway, I was here, it was 1978, and we were very, very excited. There were no fellowships during those days. So with the help of, the administrator San Joaquin, Fred Mancher, and I strongly, want to, thank the cardiac surgery team and my colleagues in cardiology then. But the cath labs and the technicians who came with me, and we went to a few centers, there were very few people who were even doing angioplasty then, and we learned from them. And 1.5 years later, we performed the first angioplasty in Kern County. And luckily, things went well. Because we had a high occlusion rate. We had no stents then. We didn't have the luxury of the stents. And it's interesting, but I think what was interesting during that time was that the patients who were causing all the mortality in cardiology, acute MIs, we never touched. We never took them to the cath labs. They were still kept in the ICU, and you treated their complications. 1983, a pioneering cardiologist in Kansas, Jeff Hartzler, published the abstract, and I will never ever forget that. That was in November 1983, where he had done 20 cases of totally occluded artery STEMIs, done angioplasty, and showed a dramatic reduction in mortality over 30 days. 4 weeks later, we brought a patient from Memorial. I'm glad it was a Saturday in the afternoon, performed the first angioplasty in Kern County in acute MI. And that was the first angioplasty done in California on a STEMI. And the patient did luckily very well, but my privileges were taken away for a while because this was the most unorthodox action anybody could have done during those days. We never touched those patients. Since then, there have been dramatic changes in cardiology. The cath lab has become a big source of treatment, both for coronary disease, peripheral vascular disease, EP studies, and now they're, attacking valve pathophysiology, and that's a big breakthrough. But I'd like to talk a little bit about mortality. The figures which came out in 2025, which is, I'm talking last year, the mortality of heart disease is increasing slightly in California overall. But in Kern County, it is still extremely high. We have one of the highest mortalities. And it's deeply tied down to socioeconomic issues. I'll give you a few numbers. Marin County, which is one of the richest county, with average income of $142,000, has a mortality of 44 per 100,000. And make a guess what it is in Kern County. Our average income is 67,000, mortality is 89. Fresno is even higher, 105. So we have a lot of work ahead of us, and focusing on risk factor reduction, which essentially was absent when I started. So I think that's one of the biggest breakthrough. And again, I want to thank everybody who has come here from the busy schedules. And I'd also add one other thing. As physicians, we have been given the greatest gift anybody can have, which is the gift of helping somebody who's in distress and need. That's the greatest blessing. I want to thank my family who supported me, and I want to thank everybody of you who came here from their busy schedules. Thank you.